So we told you who our guest will be. Let me first start by introducing to you Frank Anodompre. He's a member of parliament for Insawam Aduejiri. Frank.
I don't ride a bike.
You don't ride bike?
I'm not learning how to ride a bike.
Okay, the man who rode a bike yesterday, was it yesterday?
It was a couple of days ago.
Okay, 3 days ago. I have to be specific. Ras Mubarak. He's a member of parliament for Kumbungu, and I'll show you a picture of him riding the bike. And then we'll tell you how he rode here. Whether he rode a bike or he rode his car. You know, he has a great excuse for that as well. But what did you ride coming here?
Well, as someone who believes in the principles of punctuality, I drove here taking into consideration the fact that I need to look fresh on set.
Yeah, I know. It shows that when you ride a bike, so this is what he wrote. So this is what he wrote coming here. So he wrote, yeah. So we got him coming in. Yeah, you see. Yeah, good. So that's him. That's him coming out.
Was that me?
Yeah, that's you. Coming out of your car.
It's a very nice car.
Yeah, I think like the one you own too is the same thing. So that's a good thing about it. The MPs, they'll tell you this is a loan that they got in in buying the car. So
That's the truth.
Ras Muba. But you were riding the bike just about okay, so you rode a bike to protest
Okay.
your right to drive a four-wheel drive.
No. I rode a bike to highlight, to accentuate the concerns of my constituents, of Ghanaians generally, about rising cost of living, of which, you know, fuel increases is one component.
A key component.
One component, you know, because once you are representing people and there are key complaints about the economy, you need to bring that up. So I felt if I had come on set and said, you know, cost of living is high, it probably might not have generated the kind of excitement my riding a bike for 17 kilometers generated. You know, so it was good. Importantly, we were able to highlight the issues, and it got the nation discussing whether or not times are really hard. And for me, that was what needed to be done, to bring our attention away from the politics and back to the real issues of bread and butter.
Okay, so let me get this understanding. You rode the bike yesterday to protest high cost of fuel because of the high cost or because of the increasing cost of fuel. It's not made you comfortable enough to fuel your V8 and ride it to Parliament.
It wasn't about me, Roland. It was about Ghanaians. And when I say Ghanaians, I mean real Ghanaians. The barbers and the hairdressers, the farmers and the fisher folk, you know, the business people who are losing jobs, the students who are struggling to make ends meet or to get by, single mothers. It was about all of them. You know, as a politician, we need to make their plight the centerpiece of our activity. So it wasn't about me. I mean, God has blessed me. I can afford it. But the fact that God has blessed me and I can afford it should mean that when my neighbor can't afford it, you know, I should provide a voice for the voiceless. Because come to think of it, it's not every Ghanaian, nearly 30 million people, who has access to the floor of Parliament.
And that's you riding.
It's not every Ghanaian, you know.
Were you safe on the road? And would you encourage other members like Frank, who are all in Parliament, to be riding bike? Because I know that based on my experiences, when you are riding a motorbike or even a bicycle, you're not given the needed respect on the road.
I think Frank has put on a bit of weight, and he needs that, you know, even if he's not doing so for a particular cause, he needs to do that. Whilst riding, I discovered a few things. One of them is that there is very little respect, especially from commercial vehicle drivers, for cyclists and pedestrians. And for me, it's an issue I really want to take up strongly in Parliament, to argue to make a case for people who don't have the opportunity of sitting in vehicles, because those roads are constructed with our money, whether you're a car owner, a passenger or whatever, or a cyclist. And if we are taking into consideration vehicles, we might as well have some lanes that would take care of pedestrians, that would take care of cyclists. And indeed, we have to intensify public education on the need to respect pedestrians and cyclists, especially in the wake of several cases of accidents on our roads. It's very, very important. And I'm also hoping that the Ministry of Roads and Highways would look into it so that in future road construction, you know, we could have pedestrian walkways or pathways for cyclists.
It's another break, but his action was just a pointer to the difficulties that the ordinary Ghanaian, not you, him, or myself, experience in the economy. You know, pure water. You know, pure water. It just increased. And the sachet producers just told us bluntly that they're increasing it because of the incremental increment in the cost of production, and so not necessarily because water is expensive.
Well, my brother, I know him very well, my very good friend. I know what he can do. I was not surprised. I know he's very aggressive and he wants to do something different, okay? I take a lot of positive vibes in the action he takes. First of all, there is a lot of congestion in our country, and that's, for me, is a good sign. Then, as an environmentalist, matters relative emissions is also important. Today, the world is talking about, even though as a developing country, we are not emitting so high, we can take lessons from what is happening across the world, and then we urge and encourage people to probably use this as one of the avenues to complement what we have in our system. So it's a good thing. Now, my brother will also need to admit, the NPP is not resorting to the dead growth syndrome. The president himself has consistently said that things are not as he expected, okay, in terms of ameliorating the challenges on welfare needs of the Ghanaian. But clearly there is a consistent effort towards that. If you look at the last 2 months, there have been some reduction, not as significant as all of us would have expected, but clearly there is a consistent reduction in the price of fuel. If you look at the variables that go into the pricing, I mean, many of them are beyond us. That is also not to say that we can't do anything about it. But what's admirable is that this government is doing the impossibilities that as described by our previous government. Restoration of teacher training allowance is a major achievement, which they describe as an impossibility. Are we doing it or not? We are doing it. And the restoration is not done in a vacuum. Definitely, you have to use taxpayers' money to do this. And then it is also a compromise on other efforts or action that would have been staged elsewhere. If I talk about teacher training allowance, and I talk about free SHS, and I talk about other welfare project that is ongoing, which they describe as an impossibility, okay? The question is, how are we prosecuting these items? We are prosecuting them by prudent management. If free SHS that they describe as possible only in 20 years, we did not wait for 20 years. We were prudent enough to manage the economy and be able to raise money to prosecute this. That is very positive. So I think that I want to urge my brother. I will join you. Unfortunately, I cannot ride a bike. I wish he would teach me lessons in bad riding.
Oh, you don't know how to ride a bike?
I don't know how to. I've never done it.
Is that an excuse?
But we will focus more on the emissions and congestion. I think that the point he raised about traffic regulations and then the education about it.
I'll take back my sister.
That is
to make way so that we respect each other on the road, so to speak.
That is an area that I think that we have to focus so much on. So the bike riding is a good exercise, but unfortunately it's not placed well when he says that he's rather, showing solidarity to the grassroots. I would have thought that today.
You think the grassroots are comfortable?
Today he dodged when he said that he should have come on the bike.
No.
But he dodged you know, in a very subtle way and said that because he wanted to respect time. And then he also wanted to look good on set. If you ride a bike, you can still look good. So let him stick to the bike riding. And then I will want to join him, but he should try and stick to it. When he come into parliament, he should climb on the bike. When he's coming to a TV show, he should try and climb on the bike. So that all of us will know that at least our brother is being consistent in his pursuit of showing solidarity to the grassroots.
Well,
But today when you come in your air-conditioned, he came in his air-conditioned, very nice vehicle. And I don't know where the bike is now. I don't know if the bike is at home or the bike is at his office or the bike is gone back to the constituency.
I rode back home yesterday.
So 3 days ago,
okay, so
why did you leave
so I rode to Parliament, and then it rained, and being very responsible, you know, you don't want to ride a bike in the rain in the night.
Okay.
So
it was in the evening.
I left Parliament very late, so I left it and went home by Uber, and then drove to Parliament yesterday. My driver took the vehicle home, and then I came on a bike. Now, just a couple of points. I want just a couple of seconds. A couple of seconds.
We're done. We're not discussing the budget.
No, we're not discussing the budget.
When we're talking related budgetary issues, and we know the budget.
I'm just tied on next Thursday. Today's week actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Just a couple of points, if you would.
No, because when you talk, you would want to.
No, he wouldn't.
I will.
Frank, just a couple of points. He spoke about the fact that government has done something in respect of easing the burden on the people, but that is not the case. Pure water, sachet water prices have gone up, and this issue about fuel prices being determined internationally is not an argument that Ghanaians would buy, because you knew that when you made meal out of it, you knew that we don't determine the price of crude internationally. Yet you made capital out of it and campaigned and told Ghanaians you would reduce the cost of fuel. Never in our history have the price of diesel or petrol gone past 5 cedis per litre. So this is the first time it's happening, you know, and Ghanaians are really feeling the heat.
Okay, that's the point.
Say to that
okay, no.
Wow.
You were a student leader, I remember vividly. But let's just make some conclusive remarks on the KNUST issue. Now, we're told that there was a press conference yesterday by UTAG. Subsequently, they've had the Asantehene call them in into Menchia. They had some discussions, and so they've toned down the way they're talking on the subject. But it still is on point that UTAG and the other representatives or bodies say that their representative will still not be changed, contrary to what the position of government is on the subject.
Well, let me say that I admire this government for one thing. When you are pursuing a path of executing on projects that your predecessor said was an impossibility, you can only admire this administration. I'm saying relative to what he just said. And so it's something that we have to take in context. But on this matter, I am not too happy how things have dragged on, you know.
Because of decisions that have been taken by government?
Not necessarily. I mean, if you want to look at the mix of things that have happened, the violence, the exchanges, the university campuses are supposed to be places where the peak of civility and democracy is most unfortunate. I think that government will still have to up their game in terms of consultation, because we've had so many press releases coming out and public pronouncement from the organized bodies in this matter, and I think that government should still continue on the path of consultation. I believe that we can find an end to this seeming confusion on the tech campus. It's most unfortunate. It's out of place. I think they were supposed to resume school today, and it's not still too clear when school resumes. So I will urge the Minister of Education, who I have a lot of confidence in, the Minister for Information has also played a very vital role in the scheme of things, that they should involve the table and all the stakeholders, should go back to the negotiation table, and we can find a solution to it. I believe that there should be a solution, because if this thing continues, the effect of it is not far-fetched, and it could be very there to the students and the teaching and learning. So I will urge consultation to continue so that they can find a lasting solution once and for all.
Oh, they've stayed at home for 2 weeks, and he has confidence in the ministry, the minister, but it looks like that ableness or ability to be able to resolve the impasse first started with some decisions that have been questioned as being wrongful in the first place.
I have zero confidence in the ministry, zero confidence in the minister. I have zero confidence in the government's ability to resolve something that should have been resolved a long time ago. And you can see that it's getting intractable. You can see that government's mistakes keeps worsening the situation. Students were supposed to be in school today. By virtue of the pugilist or hardline posture that government has taken, you know, the strike continues, and nobody likes strikes, you know, and for which reason government should have softened its posture as far as the composition of the membership is concerned. The membership of the council is concerned. Unfortunately, they haven't. And to what end, at what cost, at what price would government insist that membership of the council be changed completely? You know, the lecturers are saying that, look, government can't dictate to them who gets appointed on the council from their side. And they have, and indeed, they have processes by which they elect or select representatives on the council. So if government is trying to dictate to them, clearly what we would have is a standoff. And that is where we are today. This is affecting, you know, the students. Parents are worried because when the students are away in school, sometimes it takes a lot of pressure off many parents. Now many of them are back home. There are international students, and it's all a burden. It's going to lengthen or drag their length of stay in school. So it's not the best. And my advice to government would be to soften their stance and let the negotiation go on. But to insist that membership of the council be changed clearly isn't something that would help us resolve the issue anytime soon.
I think that we also need to admit that it wasn't like government had just sat aloof. There was an interim body that was put in place amidst the crisis to help.
Have been put in place
No,
to the
well, you can raise issues about that, but I believe that the interim body was important because we couldn't have allowed the situation to degenerate. Okay,
it wasn't going to fester.
So for me, that was a good attempt. Now beyond that, it was supposed to just last for a fleeting period. Then beyond that, the real reps on the council should have been allowed to, you know, continue their work. I'm not sure government is being recalcitrant or taking a very difficult position as to representation on the council. It goes beyond that.
No, but that's the position now.
That's what I'm saying, that what they can do is to go back to the negotiation table. And I believe that I have confidence in Matthew Opoku-Prempeh.
For how long?
He doesn't. No, but I mean, issues come up. We can use this.
We currently have a standoff.
Honorable, we can use just one event and say that because of this you don't have confidence. This happen. And sometimes this is a human institution. Let's also not forget that the other reps, the Taywood and other bodies are also taking an entrenched position. Ultimately, it's the students
they are
going
insisting
to lose out.
on their
so
rights.
What is the right? Government also has a right.
Well, we do know.
So bottom line is that
based on the
negotiation.
interactions we've had with the Minister for Information, Kujo Ponkoma, that government has changed its own representatives. And so the position is we want to ensure that the next membership, as far as the composition is for the governing council, will not be the same.
But that is flawed in law.
Yeah. So that they can preside over an issue and bring some amicable resolution to an impasse. So that it also means that we're not having the same people who will preside over something that happened in the past.
I am saying that.
Let's get to UTAC. UTAC, they convened a press conference. Subsequently, they were called by Yotumfo Osei to the second to Menchia, and they have an outcome.
I think that where we are is a very crucial moment, and we want to ask the Peace Council, Khalid Bishop Conference, the Chief Imam, and all other well-meaning Ghanaians to speak on this matter because the constitutional rights of the respective unions in our university, Kenya University, is being breached. And we don't want things to degenerate to a point where it cannot be salvaged. So this is the time. If they have anything to say or any intervention, this is it. This stalemate to occur. And our children, our nephews, our nieces to be staying home. In a very important university like this with international students, everything grinding to a halt. And such key stakeholders are in this country and they are not talking. I think their silence is deafening. So we are calling them not to speak if they really mean well.
But that's where we are.
Well, I believe that he said, I want to just take a cue from what he said, that other, people of influence, chief imams, Otumfuo said to himself and other players.
Their involvement.
Their involvement is key. I know a lot of negotiations is going on.
They are asking them to speak up.
Yes, speaking up is not just honorable. It's not just.
It's not about criticism.
Yes, it's not just talking.
I think that's what he wants to say.
Other, negotiations is ongoing. It's unfortunate this matter has festered on. I want to re-emphasize the point that Honorable Matthew Opoku Prempeh, I have confidence in you. I know you can do it. Let's not allow this thing to fester on. Negotiations should be allowed to go on. Let's respect the views of other organized bodies represented on the council.
I tell you what, Roland.
And then I think that we can resolve this matter once and for all.
In any serious country, the minister would have lost his job by now.
Why?
He's poorly handled the situation, and the crisis has lingered on thanks to his mistakes as minister with oversight over the education sector. I mean, to take an intractable position and to take away the right of the teaching body to have their own representatives on the council is non-negotiable, and he should know that. The fact that government is sending fresh faces does not mean they have to do what government is doing. And if the president isn't considering firing him, this is just a good time to do so. I also think that we have to put in perspective the issue that brought us to where we are in the first place. Perhaps we could look at expanding infrastructure, because it's all about the conversion and having a lot more female student population. If that is what it is, then perhaps we could invite interested parties who might have the wherewithal to invest or partner with government to build more hostels so that we can have more people, instead of having a matter that should have even been dealt with, that should never have festered to this stage to get us to where we are today.
Well, let's move on. Yesterday, there was a press conference that was convened by the minority leader.
Yeah.
And basically, it was calling on government to make public the report of the Justice Brobe Commission. And we know that commission, they have been given the mandate to go around the interested geographical areas that wanted to see, based on a petition, to form new regions. And of course, we know what may have happened from the north, where we have, is it the northwest region? Or we also have the OT region. We've had some concerns being raised there as well, but not necessarily from the western region, so to speak. But your concern as a minority basically is you want the report out, but we know what the Constitution also says. The Constitution mandates the Commission to define the areas that will take part, for example, in the referendum in the first place. So whether it's published or not, at least the activities of the Commission were public.
It is also a constitutional requirement. It's shrouded in law that within 6 months of the Commission's work, after it's been submitted to the President, within 6 months, the President has a constitutional duty to make the findings public. Now, if for one reason or the other, the President feels that aspects of the report would inflame certain sentiments that may not be in the interest of the Ghanaian populace. The president also has a duty to give Ghanaians a reason why and this is constitutional, a reason why he would not publish the report. But having said that, I mean, if there are issues with the report that the president, for national security reasons, would not want the public to know about, they could redact those portions. We've seen this happen in several countries across the globe, where reports will be issued, but certain aspects of the report, for security reasons, would be redacted. That hasn't been done. We are in the 5th month, going into the 6th month, and I'm hoping that the president will do what is required of him. He's a sterling lawyer, and I know he respects the rule of law, and I know he would respect the rights of Ghanaians to know exactly what is in the report. And if he doesn't want to share it with the good people of Ghana, he has another option by law, which is to explain to us why he can't share the findings of the report with us.
Okay. Well, I mean, I respect my colleague's view, but it's a purely conjecture. Pure conjecture in terms of trying to
Are you saying that the call for the report to be made public?
No. The point
is
I'm
a conjecture,
the point I'm making is that when he said that
his response.
He used if, a lot of clauses say if the president thinks that there are national security issues inherent in the report. Based on that, I'm saying it's pure conjecture.
Well, so far the report has been withheld, and there's good reason why.
My brother, you won't listen to me. So, have we gone beyond the period given?
Almost.
No, I mean, the simple question. Have we? We have not.
No, but you know that in the started registration.
I have engaged a number of my colleagues on other programs where some of them feel that the declaration of the region is totally unnecessary, and then there is an attempt to do gerrymandering for a certain purpose. Yes, for a certain purpose. Some of your colleagues have said that, explicitly said that. So many of our friends in the minority don't even believe that there will be fairness. We are going to respect rule of law. There's a president who respects law, and all his life, the larger part of his life, has been to ensure that we have civility, respect for law, constitutionalism, separation of powers, and all that. I don't know, check all the landmark cases at the Supreme Court. Most of them have been prosecuted by or led by the president. I think that the minority needs to hasten cautiously. And I respect Honorable Haruna Idrisu, wonderful lawmaker, former student leader. I have a lot of respect for. But he should also respect the wisdom of the president, because the Constitution is very clear on the processes involved in the creation of the region. As we speak at this time, we have not faltered in any way. So let's not begin to read bad motives. Let's not begin to impute negativity and think that, well, it is because the report is bearing some misgivings, and that is why.
Mr. Nodonpre, what is clear is that even as political actors, the two political parties all had it in their manifestos to create the regions. I believe the position of the minority and those who are criticizing government is the steps so far that have been taken, the processes or perhaps the procedures that have been undertaken so far, pointing physically to a certain skew in those procedures to get people either to vote or to accept or not in that referendum, and also how the regions are being carved. That's the whole essential argument here. Of course, the other one is whether it will foster development or not, and if that's one of the meaningful ways by which we can foster development.
We all have strong views about the creation of these regions. And because it portends national security concern. That cannot be taken away. But let me ask a simple question. From the dawn of the process up to now, what has been done wrong? Nothing. The process is smoothly being done. It is being executed.
Does it also mean that the concerns being raised are also wrong?
I am saying that. If they are saying that the report should be made public. Okay, what does the Constitution say? Have you faltered in the provision of the law? We have not. Okay, so I'm saying that they are raising fears unnecessarily. our colleagues.
If I may, okay.
We are raising fears unnecessary. They should respect that this is a constitutional law. We have a president who is a constitutional law. I will respect the constitution. I will want due process to be followed. Let's all follow due process. In our pursuit of due process, patience is an important value that we cannot underrate. So they should just respect the process. I know that we will respect the process, we will go through the law as the provision says, and eventually it will be created by law. This is not the first time we are creating a region in our country. Is it the first time? It is not. Have we done something that will warrant this criticism? No,
yes.
We haven't.
Yes,
I insist, we have not. Unless, of course, you show us evidence of the things that we've done which is against the law or which goes variance to the law.
First of all, I mean, it's truthful that there's a bit of gerrymandering, you know, trying to shift the balance of power in some regions. And when my party's general secretary, the General Asedun Ketia, says that is a reality. Now, there's a CI, constitutional instrument, before Parliament. The basis of looking at the CI would be the report. Parliament is supposed to look at it. Parliament as a body, he represents the people of Nsawam Adwejiri. If they have questions about the report, he can't tell them because he, as a representative of the people, has not seen the report. I haven't seen the report either. And there's perhaps the only person who may have had a glimpse of the report would be the minister responsible for the creation of new regions. And that is even unfair and disrespect to Parliament. And that is why the minority leader in our press conference was encouraging the president to show some respect to the legislative arm of government. You've brought us a CI. We are supposed to look into it, but the accompanying instruments or documents, which is the report, that should have come with it.
You've not been finished.
We've not been finished with it. So on what basis are we going to be making inputs into the creation of new regions? And he's got a few more weeks before the 6-month period elapses. Next week, we're going into budget debate. We are rising in the middle of December. If you're not careful, you may not be able to properly, as a house, as a legislative arm of government that has a mandate of providing oversight,
point made
look
on
into all of these things.
Well, it's all up to the president to do what is needful by him and what he feels.
Let me just say that I have confidence
by law.
I have confidence,
and he's mandated by law to do that.
His respect for law, and he's not going to undermine.
We've seen many cases of disrespect of the law by the government. Many cases.
He's going to respect the sanctity of the Constitution, and he's going to ensure that what has to be done is done. The president will ensure that the needful is done. Let's respect the wisdom of the president, and I have confidence that it will be done. But the minority should also disabuse their minds about attempts at going into any gerrymandering. They should disabuse their mind. That's at the back of their mind is also informing some of their hasty calls.
Parliament.
For want of a better
You've
word.
practiced media before. Parliament has, for the second time in 5 sitting days, suspended the consideration of the Right to Information Bill for lack of quorum. We're told yesterday, only 46 of you. Were you in the chamber yesterday?
I was in the chamber.
You were not.
I was in the chamber.
Yeah. Okay. So you've suspended sitting on RTI. You've practiced media. Converse extensively as well.
Yes.
I don't know why you and your kind, you would not even advocate within.
No,
or the RTI
that is unfair. When you say that, I've been one of the leading.
We're having a conversation. So.
We're off air?
No, we're having a conversation. It's not an accusation.
So. No, what I'm saying is that I've been one of the leading advocates publicly. My comments on the need for Parliament to expedite action on the passage of RTI is public knowledge. And I find it difficult to believe that we are not treating this with the alacrity, with the speed with which we have treated other issues. Look at the Special Prosecutor's Bill. It passed through with lightning speed. The Ghanaian public are demanding their right to information. It is an inalienable right. And government and parliament both have a duty to ensure that when you are looking for information about my constituency, I mean, the people of Kumbungu should have information on how I spend their money as far as their common fund is concerned. They should have information on what the DC, and not just information, but with evidence on what the DC does with their money. And I don't see the reason why we would inhibit, the people of Ghana from having the RTI passed if we are really serious about the fight against corruption. Look at the public declaration of assets, for instance, Roland. If you're a public officer, member of parliament, DC, minister, chief executive, and the rest of it, you are supposed to file your asset declaration form, and then it's stuck at the Auditor General's office. How would you know that what I filled in the form is really true? So somebody could pad it up that, oh, I have property A, B, C, and D, just so he uses the opportunity of being in government to amass that wealth. The public has no way of verifying.
That's what happens.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, that is not what happens. But it is possible. We are in a human society, and anything is possible. And I think that if somebody is appointed or somebody is elected and he files their asset declaration, you should be able to go and find out how much assets Ras Mubarak has, so that when Ras Mubarak is no longer in office and has a list of companies, you can look at my income and see whether or not I acquired them genuinely. I mean, this is not rocket science. We should be committed to the fight against corruption. And I don't see why, my friends from the other side, because they have the numbers in parliament anyway. And it is tragic that we can't even get the necessary quorum in parliament to get the business done.
I mean...
and your colleague, the member of parliament for Adanse Asokwa, Mr. K.T. Hammer.
Unfortunate comments from him. Very unfortunate.
I mean, the government need to have secrets.
Please, I think that we all need to respect views and opinions.
I haven't disrespected him. I'm always saying the comments are unfortunate.
Well, that's all right. That's your view. But I'm not saying, I cannot describe it.
His comments are unfortunate.
It is not unfortunate. It is not. You see,
his comments on the position of government on the subject.
This brouhaha and call for the RTI bill to be passed, nobody is stopping it.
It's a brouhaha.
Everybody is saying RTI. It's important. I support the call for its passage. Okay? Let's not behave as if somebody is stopping it. Nobody is stopping it.
Why were your members not in parliament yesterday?
Honorable. The House of Parliament is made up of two sides.
Honorable, we didn't have the numbers.
We are made up of two sides. Where were their numbers?
Well, we had only 46, so it clearly shows that both sides.
It's both sides. But and I want to put a lot of blame on their leadership. Both leadership. Both the majority and minority. Program of the day, if you go and look at the other paper, it is the leadership that programs it. What is their minority leader also doing? So, but there are processes in the passage of the law.
Are you the politicians? You have a way. You just massage the issue you're talking about.
I will not be woodwink into believing that the passage of the RTI will solve every problem. And Parliament will not be forced. No, we will work according to processes. Yes. Let's not behave as if we are selectively picking out the RTI bill.
The RTI is not important.
It's important.
But Parliament will not be forced.
We will not be forced. We will pass it when we have to pass it.
I'll tell you what, Roland.
Roland, if I may, we will pass it when we have to pass it. It's been advertised severally. It's going through the process. Is it not going through the process? Have we stopped the process from ongoing? I think we need to respect
from the
Parliament
way it's
as an
going
institution.
through the process.
It will be passed when it has to be passed.
It looks like, based on abstract observation, as if there's not
there's no political will. Just call a spade a spade.
There's not the political will. There's not the needed commitment even on the floor among the leadership, both sides of the house.
No, not from our side.
And that is where my brother gets it wrong.
Not from our side.
Program of the day. You see, program of the day.
You're not committed to it.
We are. If we are not, we wouldn't have even started considering it. We are.
For example, we have a comment made by a notable member of parliament. The member of parliament for Adanse Asokwa.
Let's be careful.
And I'm asking you, is that the position of the majority?
Roland,
as espoused by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Adansi Asokwa.
That is his personal opinion. But I'm telling you, I'm just cautioning. Let's look at other jurisdictions where they have the RTI passed. Let's learn. And let's just hasten and say that, well, we want to pass an RTI, want to pass an RTI. Other places where they have the right to information bill passed, there are processes involved before these laws are passed. Let's not behave as if when we pass the RTI and everything will be done with, then we will be okay. Is the RTI bill not going through the process? I'm asking you, Roland, is it going through the process or not?
At snail's pace.
Now,
were you in the house yesterday?
Well, that is your view. I was there. The leadership.
Why is it that you just don't turn up as MPs and do the needful?
You have to ask those who were absent. Ask those who were absent. Their leadership.
So it is deliberate.
Let the leadership of the minority and the leadership of the majority, okay, bring the matter as an agenda or business for the day, and it will be solved. Let nobody behave that.
Okay, Roland.
Let people should stop talking as if Parliament
first of
has
all,
a certain sensitivity towards the RTI bill. It is going through the bill as all other bills should do, and we need to respect the process.
First of all, Roland, what the Honorable Katie Hammond, my very good friend, did was to fly the kite, basically throw it out there to test the pulse, but also largely a majority position.
That's not right.
That is a posture.
That is not right.
Please. No. I'm saying it's a matter of opinion.
No, I mean, you can't say that it represents the opinion of the
majority. I'm saying it's a matter of opinion.
Part of the majority.
If I may, okay.
But you have nothing wrong with the statements of the MP for Adansi Asokwa.
No, there's a distinction here. That's his personal opinion, and I want to respect his opinion. Okay. But it doesn't reflect the views of the majority.
Okay, let me re-echo. Largely a reflection of the majority view.
Wow.
When we came back from recess last week, RTI was about number 5 on the order paper, either 4 or 5. I raised it. And I said, look, if we are really interested, after prayer, after correction of votes and proceedings, after questions and statement, that should be the next item. But if in the order of business, if you put it at 5, sometimes by the time you get to number 5 or 6, depending on its position on the order paper,
you are adjourning sitting.
You are adjourning sitting. So you come back the next day.
And it's the same.
So
it's deliberate.
And I think that, look, Ghanaians, particularly our constituents, should exert a lot of pressure on their members of parliament. That is the only way people should begin to sign signatures. Let us know where your MP should tell you where he stands on this. And that should even be a basis for re-election elsewhere it happens. People know where their MP stand on each position in parliament. And where you stand could actually win or cost you an election. I don't see why or how an issue like that could take, how many years? Over a decade, and we're still arguing about it. Successive governments and parliaments have indicated their strong commitment to passing it, and we're still not passing it. So it has to be done. The way it is, I have fears whether it will get passed. If it is number 5 on the order paper, it's not urgent. Let's put some urgency in it, and our constituents should be activists. They should demand of their MPs to give them the RTI.
If I may, I think that, let me make this point extremely clear, that Mr. Katie, Honorable Katie Amo's view as expressed.
You're taking us back.
Now you want to turn yourself to the same moderator.
What I mean is, you've made that point
I'm emphasizing it. That is his personal opinion. We all believe in the RTI. We appreciate it as a very important legislation that we have to pass in our country.
Would you support me in making an application for it to be treated with some urgency?
Why not? I'm also saying that
he's made a commitment.
I'm also saying that we should not be seen to be forcing Parliament, because Parliament has always done its work. And the passage of bills has gone through processes. He is making the argument that we have not treated it with the urgency it deserves. My question to him is very simple. Business of the day. Who determines the business of the day? Is the business committee.
Yes.
The business committee, you have the leadership of the minority represented fully on the business committee. What have they done in their representation in making the point that this bill has not been given the urgency it needs.
So you're saying it's a bipartisan non-commitment.
So
You say it's a bipartisan non-commitment.
I agree with him when he says that we have not pushed it as expected. But I'm saying that the blame should be put on the leadership of the parliament, both the minority and majority. And let nobody say that K.T. Amon's view reflects that of the majority. It doesn't. It does not.
It doesn't?
It doesn't. That is
doesn't?
his view. That is his personal view, Roland. I'm telling you on authority.
Frank,
I want
it doesn't?
I want the bill to be passed.
You look Ghanaians in the face and you say it doesn't?
I'm saying that. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that. So let's
Frank Anodonpre, Member of Parliament for Insawam Adoijiri. Thanks for joining me this morning. Please be committed to passing the RTI bill.
It will be passed.
Ras here is committed, but you don't seem so enthused.
No. Maybe you're not getting the right vibe.
Thanks, Roland.
Because in local parlance they say dear.
It's not dear.
Dear.
Well, let's respect the process.
Roland, but I'm also hoping that tomorrow you'll ride to work as your commitment to. As a commitment to.
Indeed, I don't have a car, so I walk, do this. So, Charlie. Ras Mubarak, thanks for joining me. Member of Parliament for Kumbungu.
Thank you very much.
Ras.
Frank.
Well, look, coming up is a conversation on the Unilever Africa Idea Business Trophy Competition. You will love it. Stay with us.